Okay, I think we'll start. Where did we stop last class? What were we doing? Examples of bases and dimension, right? Okay, so we were looking at examples in R3. Fine. So let us do one thing. Let us look at this. R n cross n. This is my vector space. Again, the field is R. Usual addition, multiplication, scalar multiplication. What is this set of vectors? These are all square matrices, right? So let us look at these specific matrices. S1 is all the set of symmetric matrices. S2 is set of skew symmetric matrices. And S3 is a set of circulant matrices.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
The recording is off, I think.
Which recording?
This lecture recording.
No, I have switched it on. It is on. Yeah, I have switched on the recording. It happens in my iPad, so it is recording. And thanks for reminding me, Manas. Okay, like you know what is a symmetric matrix, you know what is a skew symmetric matrix. The last one, maybe some of you are not familiar. Circulant matrix means take the first row you have some entries, keep rotating it one by one. That will give you the next row. Like for example, I have 1, 2, 3. This is my first row. The second row is obtained by rotating the first one by 1, right? I'll be taking rotation to the right side. That means it will go out and it is a cyclic rotation. It doesn't go outside. So when I'm rotating this, 1 will come here, 2 will come here, and 3 will get back inside here. And you rotate once more. So then 1 will come here, 3, 2. That's it. Right? So it is a square matrix, and each row is obtained as rotated by 1 of the previous row. So such a matrix is called as a circulant matrix. Again, this is a matrix which you will see quite often in signal processing. Yeah, this is a topless matrix. For those who know what is topless, others just ignore it. This is a circulant matrix. So what I want you to do is, no, your timetable matrix is not circulant. It is, no, it is topless. It is topless because the last row is different. It's not exactly circulant. So the thing is, yeah, so you have to check whether these 3 sets, whether they are subspaces. See, these are all square matrices, right? So obviously they are all subsets of R n cross n. What you have to check is, are these subsets subspaces? If they are subspaces, find out what is the dimension of it and a basis. And basis you can give me for a 2 cross 2 case, you can give the basis. I need the dimension for all the cases for n cross n, if it is a subspace. So please do it. All of you, please do it and post the answers here. I'll give probably 5 minutes for finishing all the 3. So sit, do it, and then post the answers.
Symmetric means A transpose is minus A.
Minus A. So you have to check whether these are subspaces. Whether the set of symmetric matrices is a subspace, you have to check. Don't take an example. You should be able to do without taking examples. don't have to go till that level. You can even sit at the matrix level itself and do it. You just have to use the properties of transpose.
This is the properties of transpose, right?
Yeah, but then that is you're going to elemental level. You don't have to go to elemental level, is what I'm saying. S1 is subspace S1. Okay, Sahil, the question is, so your vector space is set of all n cross n matrices. I'm giving you one subset S1. S1 consists of the set of all symmetric matrices. S2 is a set of all skew symmetric matrices. And S3 is a set of all circular matrices. What you have to check is, see if these subsets are subspaces. Check whether the set of all symmetric matrices is a subspace of Rn cross n. If it is a subspace, I want the dimension. S1 and S2 both subspace, fine. But then what about that? Whoever has figured out that these are subspaces, find out the dimension.
N into n plus 1 by 2.
4?
3.
Huh? 3? 3? From where did 3 come? I want the dimension for n cross n.
Of a triangle.
Uh,
N into n plus 1. Correct. N into n plus 1 by 2.
which one? There are 3, S1, S2, S3.
S1, S1.
Yeah. See, only for bases go for a 2 cross 2 case. Otherwise, I need a general answer. I need a general answer for the dimension of S1, S2, S3. Yeah, for n, any dimension. So only for, otherwise bases you'll have to write so many, right? So bases you write only for 2 cross 2, but dimension I need for n. Take the case of S1 first, set of all symmetric matrices. How do you define whether a matrix is, how do you define symmetric nature? A transpose is A. That is a defining characteristic of symmetric. S1 is a subspace. That is correct, Sahil. Do for the others also. Other 2.
How to get the dimension? Yeah, I understood. Like because just remove transpose and taken that side they-
transpose is A transpose.
So this is also fine. Next, but dimension
Check how many free variables are there.
2.
No. You have an n cross n matrix, right? N cross, in general, n cross n matrix has n squared entries.
Okay, from the whole matrix.
Yeah. So there are n squared entries, but then when you're saying symmetric, some elements are same. So then the number of free variables reduces. Why are you taking an example? Don't take an example. How do you check whether it is whether it satisfies the properties? No, you only have to see whether it is closed under scalar multiplication and vector addition, right? So you have to see that C into A transpose should be equal to, yeah. What is it? It's okay. See, define a new matrix. B is equal to alpha 1 A1. B1 is alpha 1 A1. B2 is alpha 2 A2. transpose. What is that? A transpose minus alpha A. So it is minus B. B transpose is minus B. It is closed under scalar multiplication.
What's the solution?
Similarly, do for. So suppose you define a new matrix. C is equal to A1 plus A2. A1 and A2 comes from here. Same logic. What is the confusion? Done. What is the dimension? In this case, what is the dimension? See, never take an example and do, okay? N into N plus 1. Sahil, that is correct. And Amit, Arshdeep, it is correct. What about the third one? Where are you stuck, Arun? Dimension of the first one. See how many free variables? You just have to count the free variables, right? In a general n-cross-n matrix, you have n squared free variables. Each entry you can freely choose. But the moment you say it is symmetric, what is the meaning of symmetry? Aij is equal to Aj. Right, ijth element and jth element are same. That is symmetry. Which means the moment you say that the matrix is symmetric, some of the elements gets fixed by other choices. So what all you can choose? The first row I can completely choose. The moment I choose the first row, n minus elements of the first column gets fixed. Because first row is what becomes first column. Right, or A transpose. I mean, A is equal to A transpose, you say. So second, and the moment that remaining n minus 1 elements of first column are fixed, how many free variables are there in the second row? N minus 1. First element got fixed in the second row. So n minus 1 are there. Those n minus 1 will fix the n minus 2 of second row. So it means you have first row completely is a free variable. In upper triangle, you have n free variables here. You have in the second row n minus 1. Third row you have n minus 2, so on. In the last row there is only one free variable. So the number of free variables is 1 plus etc. plus n, which is n into n plus 1. Noted. Just picturize what are the free variables.
And for B, this is done. For BC specifically, I have to go for
2 cross 2. Just take 2 cross 2. Right?
only 2 cross 2.
Yeah, otherwise you have to write so many.
But why only 2 cross 2 will satisfy for all the cases?
No, not for. I'm just saying, just give an example for 2 cross 2. N cross n, you have to write so many entries, right? So just for a 2 cross 2 matrix. No. R2 cross 2. So R2 cross 2 symmetric matrix means, see when I say what all things gets fixed. I have 1, 0, 0, 0. Then you have 0, 0, 0, 1, right? And then you have 0, 0, 1. Because these two are always same.
But why these 3 things here?
Because if you take a symmetric, 2 cross 2 symmetric matrix, I have this is a free variable.
Do a rotation like 0, 0, 0, 0. What are the possibilities here? There's possibilities here and same.
Wait, these are the 4 free variables.
Yes.
For a general 2 cross 2 matrix. In this case, I can choose this. This is one free variable. And this is another free variable. And the other 2 free variables, these 2 are there, but these 2 are always bound to be same. So alpha 3, alpha 3. So I have only 3 free variables here.
Okay.
Fine. Like this I can choose freely. So when I am choosing this freely, the remaining entries are all made 0. Because this is my free variable and the remaining all variables are making 0. Because I choose only one free variable at a time. Second free variable is this.
Yes.
Third free variable, these two will become
Basically, the basis will be this one or this one.
this. This is obtained as, this is my V1, V2, V3, alpha 1, V1 plus alpha 2, V2 plus alpha 3, V3 is what I have written here. And this is a general form of,
combination.
yes, this is a general form of any matrix in your set. Okay, so S3n, okay, that is correct. So the set S1 is set of all symmetric matrices. So let A1, A2 element of S1. So when you know that A1 and A2 are elements of S1, what do you know? A1 transpose is A1, A2 transpose is again A2, right? Now if I take a new vector which is alpha 1 A1 plus alpha 2 A2, I'm calling this as B. So when can you say that this S1 is a subspace? If B transpose is equal to B, then I can say that S1 is a subspace, right? So what is B transpose here? Yeah. What is B transpose? A1 plus A2 transpose is A1 transpose plus A2 transpose, right? The property of transpose. So this becomes alpha 1 A1 transpose plus alpha 2 A2 transpose, which is alpha 1 A1 plus alpha 2 A2, which is same as B. So B transpose is same as B, which means B is also symmetric. So any linear combination of A1 A2 will lie in S1 itself, which means that S1 is closed under scalar multiplication and vector addition, which means S1 is a subspace. You don't have to check any other property, right? Now, if S1 is a subspace, then it has a dimension. So how do you find the dimension in this case? What is the dimension of this subspace? One zero 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 zero. Anuranjan, I think your answer for the last one is not correct then. Done? Dimension of S1. Count the free variables. How many free variables are there for a general n cross n matrix? N squared. For a general n cross n matrix, there are n squared free variables. But the moment you say that something is symmetric, the choice of row will decide the columns, right? So in the first row, how many free choices are there for me? All these, A11, etc. up to A1n, all these can be freely chosen, right? So how many free variables in the first row? N. And the moment I choose these free variables, what gets fixed? Something gets fixed, right? The moment I choose this row, what gets fixed? The first column also will get fixed because it is a first, since a matrix is symmetric, whatever is there in the first row, that will come as the first column. And now when I go to the second column, second row, how many free variables are there in the second row? See, this A12 will come here, right? Since this A12 will come here, I have only n minus 1 free variables in the second row. So second row has n minus 1 free variables because this is going to be A12 itself. These are all free, right? So on. Till where can I go? In the third row, I have n minus 2. Last row, how many free variables I have? Only 1. So total number of free variables is 1 plus etc. up to n. Sum of 1 to n is what? So dimension of S1 is 1 plus etc. plus n minus 1 plus n. This is equal to n into n plus 1 by 2. Right? So this is the dimension of set of symmetric matrices. Set of symmetric matrices is a subspace of Rn cross n and its dimension is n into n plus 1 by 2. So can you give me a basis for the case of 2 cross 2? Asking you to write only for 2 cross 2 because otherwise you'll have to keep writing so many elements. So R2 cross 2, what is the dimension? 3, right? N into n plus 1 by 2, which is 3. So that means there are 3 basis vectors. What are the 3 basis vectors? I mean, see, you should be able to visualize it, okay? And be very comfortable in seeing what are the free variables. The free variables are those which are along the diagonal, right? So in this case, 2 cross 2, you have 2 free variables. So what would be the basis vectors corresponding to the diagonal elements? Take the standard basis. I mean, 1, 0, 0. So what is a basis vector? What? 1, 0, 0, 0 for the first diagonal element. Then this is V1. I'll call it as V1. V2 is 1, 0. No, not 1, 0, 0. No, you choose only one free variable at a time. Yeah, 0, 0, 0, 1. This corresponds to the second diagonal element. What is the third basis element? 0, 1, 1, 0. Notice that these two ones are equal. That is because whatever you select here, the same variable comes here because the matrix is symmetric. Is it clear, all of you? Now, for 2 cross 2, you have to write these 3. So you can imagine for n cross n how many you have to write. So that's why I said write for 2 cross 2.
Can you just go back one slide, please?
Okay, so for S2, same logic. Do you want me to repeat?
Can you give an example of skew symmetric matrix?
0, 0, 1, minus 1. Diagonal elements for skew symmetric is 0. Skew symmetric means A transpose is minus A. Since A transpose is minus A, the diagonal elements have to be 0. Okay. So diagonal elements are 0. So in this case, AII equal to 0 and AIJ is equal to minus AJI. This is the definition of a skew symmetric matrix. Fine. So this being the case, like if A1 and A2 are elements of S2, you know that A1 transpose is minus A1 and A2 transpose is minus A2. Right? So again, define B is equal to alpha 1 A1 plus alpha 2 A2. Same logic. Take B transpose. You will get this as minus alpha 1 A1 minus alpha 2 A2, which is minus B, which implies that B is an element of S2. Right? Why is it that the diagonal should be 0? Yeah, you will get it as AII is equal to minus A. You will get something like 2 equal to minus 2. How can you? Because the diagonal doesn't change, right? When you're taking transpose, the diagonal remains as such. So the only way to handle the condition AII equal to minus AII is put AII as 0. Otherwise, you will end up with notions like 1 is minus 1, 3 is minus 3. It's not possible, right? So that is why the diagonal elements of a skew symmetric matrix are forced to be 0. It has to be 0. So that being the case, the moment you realize that the diagonal elements are 0, what will the dimension become? You don't have to think much here. You only have to slightly modify your previous thinking. N into n minus 1 by 2. Right? Why? Because from each, earlier we said 1 plus 2 plus etc. up to n. From each you just subtract 1 because all that plus 1 will correspond to the diagonal. You are removing all the diagonal elements. So from instead of n you have n minus 1 in the first row, n minus 2 in the second row, so on. So it is 1 plus etc. up to n minus 1. So since diagonal elements are 0, you have dimension of S2 is n minus 1 plus n minus 2 plus etc. up to 1, which is n into n minus 1 by 2. Fine. So notice all of them have structure, okay? The set of symmetric matrices, it is a subspace. Subspace is basically a structure. Set of all skew symmetric matrices are also, it also forms a subspace. And what about the what is that? Dimension, basis? Yeah, let us write basis for R2. R2 cross 2. 0, 1. How many basis elements are there? Only one. There is only one basis element for R2 cross 2 because the diagonal elements are zeros. So it is going to be 0, 0, 1, minus 1. This is the basis. Right? And dimension is 1. Fine? Finished? Last one. S3 is set of all circulant matrices. So, how many free variables are there? Only the first row, right? The moment you choose your first row, every other row gets fixed. That is because every other row is obtained as rotate by one of the previous row, right? So the number of free variables is, okay, before that, is it a subspace? All of you by default assume that it is a subspace. Is it a subspace? It is, right? I mean, because you take two circulant matrices, you add, again, what you get is a circulant matrix. Nothing is going to change. Right? Number of free variables is n, only the first row. Akansha is not convinced. Convinced? Okay, fine.
Can you prove it? Yeah.
Proving it needs more math. It can be proved easily, but proving it needs a bit more of math, which we have in. Probably I'll show it to you. Huh?
Induction?
No, it's a very easy proof. One line proof is there. But for that, we have to see diagonalization. Let us come to diagonalization, then I'll show you. It actually, it is not just under addition, okay? The set of circulant matrices are closed under multiplication also. It is that powerful. But in order to see that it is closed under multiplication of matrices, in order to see that it is closed under multiplication, we need something else. So whenever I teach diagonalization, I'll come back to it. So, okay. In this case, let us write the basis for R3 cross 3. Circulant in R3 cross 3. Yeah. What would be the dimension is what? 3. I need the basis elements. Write down the basis elements.
First one is the identity matrix.
Uh-huh.
Second one is permutation.
Huh?
Permutation matrix.
Yeah, tell me the basis. Yeah. Because the first element gets rotated to second location here, which will get rotated to third location here. So this is one of the bases. What would be the next basis? 0, 1, 0. And this one will come here. Then, right? And the last one is? So these are the three basis vectors.
So basically, this matrix starts with 3 cross 3. It doesn't have resistance in 2 cross 2.
No, these are all, I am looking at circular matrices which are of size 3 cross 3. I have circular matrices in 2 cross 2 also. Right, circular, if I am considering in 2 cross 2, then it is going to be, you have 1 0 0 1. These are the bases, 0 1 1 0. This is the basis in 2 cross 2. I can have 2 cross 2 circular matrices. I can have 3 cross 3, any n cross n circular matrices are possible. I just put n equal to 3 in this case, that's all. So let us look at this particular R2 cross 2 case. What is the dimension of ambient space? Ambient space means I have one vector space whose subspaces I am looking at. So what is the main space is what I am calling as the ambient space. Now if you look at, let us look at this particular example R2 cross 2. What is the dimension of the ambient space? See, okay, I'll repeat. See, whenever I talk about a vector space V and its subspace S, V is what I call as the ambient space, because I am looking at a subspace S which is sitting inside the vector space V. So since S is sitting inside V, I call V as the ambient space in which S is lying. Right. So when I am looking at R2 cross 2, R2 cross 2 is a set of all 2 cross 2 matrices, real matrices. And the set of circular matrices in that is set of all 2 cross 2 circular matrices. Fine. So the question is, what is the dimension of ambient space here? 4, because you are in R2 cross 2. It consists of matrices of size 2 cross 2, 4 freely choosable variables, so the dimension is 4. So if I represent, so given a basis, how can I represent each element in this? Each element gets represented as what? Huh? No, what is it? No, given the basis, there is an alternate representation. That is what we saw in the last class. Given the basis, whatever be the vector space, it always has an alternate representation. What is that representation?
Linear combination of bases.
Yeah, it's a linear combination of bases, so you take the coefficients. You take the coefficients and that forms an n tuple. So we saw that any n-dimensional vector space has a column vector representation. The column vector representation or that n tuple representation comes because the basis is given to you. So once the basis is given to you, R2 cross 2 has a 4 tuple representation. Every element in R2 cross 2 gets represented as a 4 tuple. Yes or no?
That is true for any n cross n.
Any n cross n. Yes, yes, any n cross n.
It's very special to 2 cross
No, no, no. I am just taking this example because I wrote it here. That's all. It's true for any n cross n. So in this case, any vector you take or any matrix that you take from R2 cross 2, you have a 4 tuple representation. And the entries of that 4 tuple is decided by the what? The basis that you choose. Whatever basis you choose, that will decide the entries of that 4 tuple. Agreed? Now, what happens to elements in this set? I have a set S which is spanned by 1 0 0 1 and 0 1 1 0. What do you say about this set? I have S as a subspace. S is a subspace of R2 cross 2 and S consists of all circular matrices, 2 cross 2 circular matrices. So what do you think will be the representation of this?
What are you asking? Can you repeat?
See, I told you that the ambient space is R2 cross 2. Its dimension is 4. So every element in R2 cross 2 gets represented by a 4 tuple. Now what I am looking at is, I am looking at S. Where does S lie? S lies in where?
Ambient space.
In R4, R2 cross 2. S lies in that ambient space, and S is spanned by two basis vectors, which is 1, 0, 0, 1 and 0, 1, 1, 0. The question is, what would be its representation?
Two tuple.
The two tuple. What do you people say? Everyone here says two tuple.
Yeah, uniquely only by two tuple, but I can still do by some other linear combination.
Uniquely by,
Two tuple.
okay. Let us say, what do you people say? Online people. Nobody is saying anything. Did you understand the question? I am fundamentally what I am trying to do is I am trying to confuse you people. I will do that. I will keep doing that in my class. The question was standard basis? No. See, the question was, you are in R2 cross 2. My ambient space is R2 cross 2. Every element in R2 cross 2 gets represented as a 4 tuple. Reason being, the dimension of the space is 4. I have 4 basis vectors. 4 basis vectors will have 4 coefficients. These 4 coefficients together gives me a 4 tuple. So every element in the ambient space is represented by a 4 tuple. Now what I am looking at is a subspace, right? A subspace of R2 cross 2, which is of dimension 2. So the question is, an element in this subspace, will it get represented as a 2 tuple or will it get represented as a 4 tuple? That is the question.
It should be by two tuple because it goes to 4, then 2 might not be linearly independent.
No, but then, see, if you are saying that it is a 2 tuple, isn't there a contradiction? Because you are saying that, see, whenever you are saying that S is a subspace of V,
Then what is she said that other two are 0.
other two need not be zeros. Sahil says 4 tuple, fine.
The combinations of these two, like if it is alpha 1, alpha 2, then it might be, like if it is C1, C2, then it will be alpha C1, alpha C2 or some other combination.
Yes, it is going to be a 4 tuple. Because, see, elements of S are also elements of V. If I take a 2 cross 2 circular matrix, it is a 2 cross 2 matrix. So it has a 4 tuple representation. There's nothing that you can do about it. It is a 4 tuple, but 2 of its elements are going to be dependent upon the other 2 elements. It need not be 0 also. Did you understand the idea? It is going to be represented by a 4 tuple, but only 2 of those are freely choosable. The other 2 gets decided by whatever you chose for the 2. Got the idea? Have this idea very clearly in mind. Okay. So in order to drive this point, I can give you an example. Let us take a very simple example of R2. So every element in R2 is what? It is xy element of R, right? Now if I take S is equal to set of all, or no, let us take, let me write it properly. I take S as the line which passes through origin with slope minus 1.5. Okay. Is this a subspace? Is S a subspace?
Yes.
S passes through the origin, it has a slope of minus 1.5. So, what is the dimension of S? Dimension of S is 1. So, notice that it is not going to be a point, okay? If you take elements of S, it is not going to be represented as a point in R. Instead, it is going to be represented as what? It is a point in R2. So what will be a general point in S? It is going to be of the form some x minus 1.5x. So notice it is a 2 tuple, but then it has only one freely choosable variable. Did you understand? So don't think, so whenever you are having a one-dimensional subspace sitting in R2, that one-dimensional subspace also has representations as two tuple only. Only thing is that the variables are, those two entries are dependent on each other.
That means the examples you gave other day, that x plus y minus, those examples,
Huh.
those were also like that.
Yes.
That's-
Like if you take, see, suppose you take R2. R2 is, every element of R2 is represented by xy. I mean, as I have written here, this is R2, right? But if you take R3, and I am taking a subspace z equal to 0. When I say R3, all the points in R3 which satisfy z equal to 0, what is that? It is a xy plane. It looks like R2, right? It is a xy plane, it looks like R2, but how are the points in that plane represented? It is represented as xy0. The last element has to be 0. Is that clear? It is not,
Ma'am,
yeah.
in this example, so it is called as one-dimensional subspace of R.
Yeah, this is a one-dimensional subspace of R. So even if it is, now what I am trying to drive in is, even when it is a one-dimensional subspace of R, of R2, the entries are represented as two tuples. It is a two tuple,
There is,
yeah.
that means there is only one free variable.
There is only one free variable, yes. Similarly, for the case of z equal to 0 or the xy plane, you have only two free variables, x and y. Z is forced to be 0. It is equivalent in some sense to R2 because the dimension of both of them are same, right? If you look at the xy plane has a dimension of 2, R2 is also having a dimension of 2, but the representations are different. When you say it is a two-dimensional subspace of R3, you have only two free variables. The third variable gets fixed by the first two, or it becomes 0. Is the idea clear? So understand that inherent difference between a two-dimensional space and a two-dimensional subspace. A two-dimensional subspace can have more entries in its tuple representation. Only two free variables would be there. Is the idea clear?
So what will be the tuple representation for that example that you gave?
Which one?
Just the previous one.
In this example of line.
That is fine.
So, no, what you are thinking I will tell you. According to your logic, it should be just set x. But then that is valid only when you are treating S as an isolated set. When you think of S as sitting within R2, you cannot think like that because it actually has two coordinates. And you are saying that one coordinate is dependent upon the other coordinate. Same thing here.
Two one that we solved, that it was not four tuple but two tuple.
Okay, you need R2 cross 2. So suppose I take some metric. So you have, what is the standard basis for this? This is the standard basis. And you have 0, 0, 0, 1, right? So suppose I have some matrix, some element 2, 3, 1, minus 1. Its tuple representation is going to be 2, 3, 1, minus 1. Right? And what about the other one? Suppose you have S is equal to, you have what? Some 2, 1, 1, 2. Yeah, so what would be the representation here? Huh? So when it is a circular matrix, what is going to be its, I mean, how can you say in tuple representation, when you are writing it as a tuple, how do you see the dependence? Yeah, you will have this one, I mean, this will be same as one of the other entries, and this will be same as the other entry. So these entries are similar. So from this you know that,
This expansion is with respect to the standard basis.
yeah, it is with respect to standard
Not
basis.
with the subspace basis.
No.
That will be 2.
If you're just sitting within that and seeing, if you're sitting globally and seeing, because you basically see globally only, you don't sit within that and see. So do you see something sitting here? So you are saying that you have a two-dimensional subspace in R3. It is in some way equivalent to R2, right? Why is it some way equivalent to R2? The behavior is same, right? Both of them have the same dimension. Both of them have only two basis vectors. And similarly, if you take R2 cross 2 and R4, do you see that there is a similarity? If you look at R2 cross 2 and R4, imagine this space, you have R. No, whatever is this entry only. These entries.
Are these not the coefficients associated with the basis vector?
It is.
But we have only two basis vectors.
No, but that is, but every see, in this basis if you see, it is alpha beta. But if you are just focusing only onto S2 as an isolated object, in that case you can write it as a two-tuple. And in that case you will get just alpha beta. But then alpha beta is valid only when you are sitting within S2 only. But you are sitting in an ambient space, right? So this alpha beta gets repeated. It is like saying that in this, you have 4 coordinates. Only thing is that they are dependent on each other. Any questions? And people, I think 2 of you had posted questions in Slido. I have answered it. Please go and check if you can see it. You should be able to see it. Anyway, check and let me know. I've created Slido links for both the courses. I mean, at least for this E522. So I had sent a mail yesterday. So please go back and check your mail. I have given a Slido link. That is one web-based interface where you can post your questions. So the questions can be seen by everyone. I have given the reply. You can go and see the reply. Okay, so I'll stop for now.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Like we studied earlier that bijection is the necessary condition for a function to be invertible.
Yes. And can you, Manas, can you mail me because I have to leave the room now for the next class. Please send an email to me. 2 and R4. Do you see any similarity between these two spaces?
Similarity in tuple representation.
Yeah, they are, I mean, every element in R2 cross 2 can be represented as a 4 tuple. Given the basis, right? Given a basis, X element of R2 cross 2 is a 4 tuple. And is it unique? Is it unique? It is, right? Yeah, once the basis is fixed, it is unique. That is what I gave, that theorem I gave you in the last class. I didn't prove it, but you can actually prove that theorem. It says that once the basis is given, every element of a vector space can be represented as a unique, I mean, it has a unique representation. That means those coefficient CIs are unique. That means given any matrix in R2 cross 2, it has a unique 4 tuple representation. So what do you see sitting here? And similarly, given a 4 tuple, I can always map it back to a matrix. So what is it that you're having? Once the basis is given, what is it that is happening? Yeah, it's not 1:1, it is more than 1:1. It is 1:1 and on 2. Every element, see, try to understand what I am saying. Every 2 cross 2 matrix has a 4 tuple representation, and given a 4 tuple representation, you can always find a matrix corresponding to it, which means that given a basis, you have a bijection between these two. Bijection means you have a 1:1 and onto mapping, right? What is 1:1? I am assuming all of you remember. Not supposed to forget. What is a 1:1 mapping? When do you say that a mapping is 1:1?
Every domain of every member of codomain maps to at most one element of domain.
Okay. From the perspective of domain, how will you define it? If 2 elements map to this, if f of x is equal to f of y, then x is equal to y. That's it. Right? One element from the domain maps only, I mean, there's a unique mapping. No two elements in the domain map to the same element in codomain. And similarly, what is onto? Yeah, onto is codomain is equal to range. That means every element in your codomain has a pre-image. Every element can be mapped back to some element in the domain. That is onto. Right? And if you have a one-to-one and onto mapping, then you say it is a bijection. So, one quick question. What about the number of elements when you are having one-to-one onto mapping? So, let us assume finite sets. You are having a finite domain, you are having a finite codomain. If the mapping is one-to-one and onto, what can you say about the number of elements in these two sets? They are? Same. They have to be equal. Only when the number of, I'm talking about a finite set, okay. You are having a finite domain, you are having a finite codomain. Then if the function is bijective, then the number of elements in domain is same as the number of elements in codomain. Fine. So here what we are saying is, once the basis is given, between R2 cross 2 and R4, there is a bijection. You can go from every matrix to a 4-tuple, and from every 4-tuple you can come back to a matrix. Fine. And such a thing is called as, between vector spaces, when you have something like this, you say it is isomorphic. Isomorphic means it is a structure preserving map. A structure preserving map which is bijective. What is structure here? I mean, don't have to get scared by these terms, okay. Structure is a vector space structure. R4 cross 4 is a vector space. R2 cross 2 is a vector space. R4 is also a vector space. This mapping from one matrix to a 4-tuple and its inverse, you're basically going from one vector space to the other vector space. So the fact that they are both vector spaces is preserved. That is why it is called as a structure preserving map. Fine. Again, why I said all these things is only for driving one point. What is the advantage of all this? See, why did I spend so much of time talking about all these things? Huh?
Storage?
No.
You can map it to a familiar space.
Now the thing is, whatever be the object, see, your vector space, as I told in the beginning, your vector space may be of functions, polynomials, whatever. Once it is known to be finite dimensional, you can always think in terms of Rn, where n is the dimension of the space. I don't have to keep thinking of matrices, right? I don't have to keep thinking of 2 cross 2 matrices. Instead, I can think of 4 tuples. Similarly, suppose you are having an n-dimensional vector space, irrespective of what the nature of vector is, given the basis, I can map it to Rn, assuming that everything is real. So then instead of sitting and working in the space of n cross n matrices, I can as well sit and work in the space of Rn squared. Rn squared is something which is very familiar to us, right? It is a set of column vectors. We are all very familiar with column vectors. So once the basis is given, I can always have a single notion for a vector which is n-tuple. But remember one thing, life is not that easy. This is applicable only for finite dimensional vector spaces. Finite dimensional vector spaces, given a basis, and if all the objects are real, I can easily work in Rn. So I'll choose to work in Rn. You're working with images. Images are 2-dimensional, right? Image is an m cross n matrix. I don't have to sit in the space of m cross n matrices and work. Instead, I can sit in the space of mn tuple, mn length tuple. That is more familiar. It is easy to think. It is easy to formulate. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
so if we are talking like, if we say for R8, it will be isomorphic with 2 cross 2 cross 2.
Yes, it can be. You can actually extend it to any, when you say 2 cross 2 cross 2, it becomes a tensor. You can actually extend it to any tensor also.
Stress, I was thinking we say with it in void notation. That is basically the tensional representation is a column.
Column, yes. It can be done. Given a basis, all these isomorphisms exist. The structure is preserved. Fine?
What is the previous page?
Huh?